Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum everyone. This is our third lecture on chapter number 9, whose title is Graph Algorithms. In the first lecture of chapter number 9, we studied the preliminaries. We looked at various uh, definitions. We looked at how we can represent a graph. There are two basically strategies with which we can represent a graph: adjacency matrix and adjacency list representation. In our previous lecture, we defined the single source shortest paths problem. And we saw that there are 4 different versions of the same problem. Out of the 4, we will study only 2. In the previous one, we looked at how to calculate or how to solve the single source shortest paths problem using the breadth first search algorithm. BFS algorithm is applied on unweighted graphs, whether they are directed or undirected graphs, right? So in our previous lecture, we studied an example, or we illustrated the working of the BFS algorithm with the help of an unweighted directed graph. I will recommend all of you to apply breadth first search algorithm on an unweighted undirected graph, so you can have the idea how it can be applied on unweighted undirected graphs as well. So in today's lecture, we will look at the second version of the single source shortest path problem. In the first version, we studied how we can calculate the shortest path weights for unweighted graphs using the BFS algorithm. In today's lecture, we will look at how can we calculate the shortest path weights for weighted graphs using an algorithm named Dijkstra's algorithm. So let's start with today's lecture. This is article 9.3 of our book, Shortest Path Algorithms. If the graph is weighted, we can still use the ideas from the unweighted case. Keep all of the same information as above. So if you recall from our previous lecture, we maintained 3 attributes for each matrix. There was a variable known as known. It was a Boolean variable whose value could be true or false. And that gave us an idea whether a vertex or a node has been processed. By processing, we mean that we have visited or we have discovered the node, right? And then the second variable was dv, the distance variable. The dv variable was giving us an idea about the number of edges in between the source node and a given node, let's say v, right? And then the third variable was PV, predecessor of node V. The predecessor of a node V will allow us to construct the actual shortest path. dV was giving us the shortest path weight from the source node. PV was giving us the idea about the predecessor of node V, and that actually helped us in constructing the actual path from source node to the destination node V, right? So the same idea we will keep in Dijkstra's algorithm. We will keep the same information as before. So for each vertex, we will have the first variable known, whose value can be true or false. Then the dv distance is kept for each vertex. This distance turns out to be the shortest path length from the source node to node V using only known vertices as intermediates, right? And then the third variable that we will record is PV, the predecessor of node V. So PV is the last vertex to cause a change to DV. Let's move on. So the general method to solve the single source shortest path problem is known as Dijkstra's algorithm. This is a 30-year-old solution and it is based on the greedy approach. Based on the greedy approach. So what is a greedy algorithm? Greedy algorithms generally solve a problem in stages. Greedy approaches to solve the problem in stages by doing what appears to be the best thing at each stage. So for example, if I'm about to leave UET and I want to go to, let's say, Sadar, what should I do? Should I go via Gadi Shahu or should I go via Shalamar Bagh or Shalamar Link Road, right? Now, what I will do is I will try to estimate the traffic congestion on each of these two routes, right? So I will look as soon as I leave the gate of UET, gate number 2 of UET, I will look towards left, towards right, and probably I will try to estimate the congestion. This is what we call a greedy decision. So at that stage, I'm trying to take that I'm trying to follow that path which is the best for me at each stage. So it is called the greedy approach. That was my greedy decision. I look towards right, I look towards left. So based on my estimation of the traffic congestion, I will follow a certain path. I will move in a certain direction, right? So this is my greedy decision. We call it the greedy approach or greedy algorithm. So the Dijkstra's algorithm is based on this greedy approach. Let's move on. Dijkstra's algorithm proceeds in stages, just like the unweighted shortest path algorithm, whose name was breadth first search algorithm. At each stage, Dijkstra's algorithm selects a vertex V which has the smallest dV among all the unknown vertices and declares that the shortest path from S to V is known, right? So among all the unknown vertices, Dijkstra's algorithm will select the node whose dV is the minimum, right? So the remainder of a stage consists of updating the values of dW. So based on our selection of V, then I will update the neighbors of V. Let's move on. In the unweighted case, what was our rule for updating? The distance of W, the adjacent nodes of V, dW was equal to dV plus 1 if dW was infinity. This is how we were updating our weights or the distance weights in the case of breadth first search. We essentially lowered the value of dW if the vertex V offered a shorter path. If we apply the same logic to the weighted case, then we need to consider the weights, right? So the weight of node W, that is dW, the shortest path of node W from S is equal to the shortest path from S to V plus the cost of traversing the edge from V to W. If this new value for dW would be an improvement. If dW would be improved, only then I will update dW, right? So let's move on. Simply, the algorithm decides whether or not it is a good idea to use V on the path to W, right? The original cost dW is the cost without using V. The cost calculated above is the cheapest path using V and only known vertices, right? So to understand the working of Dijkstra's algorithm, let's look at figure 9.20 of our book, the directed graph. It's a weighted directed graph, right? I will recommend all of you to draw this graph on your notebooks, right? So once we have drawn it, then we can keep a track of the working of our algorithm. So please draw this graph on your notebooks. After drawing the diagram on your notebooks, please also write the adjacency list representation of this graph on your notebooks, right? This will help us in analyzing the working of Dijkstra's algorithm. So for example, our adjacency list will consist of 7 nodes: V1, V2, V3, V4, V5, V6, V7. So an array of 7 elements, and for each element or node or vertex there will be an adjacency, there will be a linked list, right? The linked list will maintain the neighbors of each vertex. So can you please guess how many adjacent nodes do we have for V1? V2 and V4 are the neighbors of V1. Can you figure out who are the neighbors or the vertices that are adjacent to V6? If you see the figure, we can see that we don't have any neighbor for V6 and so on. So please draw the diagram and please write the adjacency list representation of this graph. So let's move on. Now let's assume that we want to start with V1. So V1 is our source node. So in this example, we are interested in calculating the shortest path weights from V1 to the rest of the nodes, right? So let's start. First of all, our initial configuration of the table used in the Dijkstra's algorithm. This was the same as we were maintaining while we were studying the breadth first search algorithm in the previous lecture. The first vertex selected is V1. So the shortest path of V1 with V1 is obviously 0. So this has been shown in the table. So the table consists of 7 entries, one for each vertex, and for each vertex there are 3 attributes or variables: known, dv, and pv. Known, whether you have visited or you have discovered the node; dv, the shortest path weight or the shortest path distance from S, that is our source node; and pv, the predecessor of a certain node V. So this is how we can show the graph. Now if you look at the graph, against each node or vertex, there's a number against each vertex. So you can see there's a little 0 that is being depicted against V1, infinity against V3, and infinity against V6, and so on. So this is our initial configuration of the Dijkstra's algorithm. So let's now look at the adjacency list of V1. There are two nodes, V2, V4, right? Now since V1 is node, we will adjust the vertices, the neighbors of V1, and those are V2 and V4. So the shortest path bit values will be updated. Now, after V1 is declared known, that means we have discovered V1. Now you can see in the known column, the current value of the known variable for V1 has become true. dV is 0 and V1 has no predecessor, right? It has no predecessor because this will be the root of the tree, right? And now we have found V2 and V4. So the shortest path distance of V2 with respect to V1 is 2. The shortest path width of V4 with respect to V1 is 1. And for both these two nodes, you can see the predecessor column has been updated as well, right? So who is the predecessor of V2? V1. We have discovered we should go to V2 via V1. We should go to V4 via V1. So after updating these values, now what should we do? We have our known vertices are V2 and V4, right? We have just discovered them. Now, out of these two, what should we do? We should make a greedy decision here. Who is at a shorter distance with respect to our source node? That is V1. Is it that V2 has a shorter distance? Or is it that V4 is at a shorter distance from V1? So out of these two nodes, since V4 is at a shorter distance, we will select V4 in our next iteration, right? So before that, let's see the graph. The graph has been updated with the updated values. V1 with a star is now discovered. We are done with the adjacency list of V1. That's how we are indicating it with the help of a star. The star indicates that we have explored the adjacency list of V1. Look at the little 2 against V2. That indicates that the shortest path is 2. Shortest path width is 2 from V1. That is our source node. And for V4, the shortest path width is 1 with respect to V1, which is our source node, right? Now, as I said earlier, V4 will get selected. Why? Because out of the two nodes, V2 and V4 that we have just discovered, V4 is being at a shorter distance with respect to V1. right? So what we will do is we will make a greedy approach. This is a greedy decision. So we will we would like to explore the rest of the paths via V4. Now, who are the adjacent nodes of V4? So if you look at the adjacency list of V4, we find that V5, V7, V6, and V3 are adjacent to V4. And now we can adjust their corresponding weights. So let's move on. After V4, after I have visited all the adjacent nodes of V4's list, adjacency list, I can declare it to be known now. So you can see the column known. V1 has been discovered. We have scanned or explored the entire list, the entire adjacency list of V1. We have scanned the entire list of V4 now, and thus V4 is known to us. Now, look at the adjacent nodes or the neighboring nodes of V4, V3, V3. So the shortest path weight of V3 from V1 is 2 plus 1, which is 3. The shortest path distance of V5 is also 3. And the shortest path distance of V7 is 5. The shortest path distance of V6 is 1 plus 8, which is 9. So look at the predecessor columns. Who are the predecessors of V3, V5, V6, V7 at the moment? At the moment, we would like to reach to these destinations via V4 from V1. So when you start your journey from V1, I would like to go to V7 via V4, because this at the moment, this is what I know, right? So after we have declared V4 known, this is the corresponding graph. Look, we have drawn the corresponding graph, and against each node, the number is representing the current value of the shortest path width. Against V6, we can see a little 9. That little 9 represents that the shortest path width at the moment is 9 from V1. Now, from those nodes that we have just discovered, right, V2 has a shortest path distance value 2, V3 has a shortest path distance value 3, V5 has a shortest path distance value 3, V6 has a shortest path weight 9. The current estimate of the shortest path weight of V7 is 5. Among all these, whose current estimate is the shortest? Whose current estimate is the minimum among all these nodes that we have just discovered? So that is V2. So that means we should continue our journey via V2 now, because all those nodes that we have just discovered, V2's distance from V1 is the shortest among all the nodes that have been discovered but are not known yet, right? So what we do is we will start our journey from V2. So if you look at the adjacency list of V2, we will find V4 and V5. But since V4 is already known, so I cannot work on it. We don't need to do any work on it, right? So since V4 is known, we don't need to change its weight. But look at V5 now. V5 is adjacent to it, right? If I go to V5 via V2, what is the cost? 10 plus 2, which is 12. And what is the current estimate? If you look at the value against node V5, or if you refer to the table, you will see that the current shortest path estimate of V5 is 3. Is 3 better than 12? Obviously. So should I go to V5 from V1 via V2? No. So I shouldn't update my value for V5, right? So V5 was unknown among all the neighbors of V2. V4 and V5 were the neighbors, right? And among the two neighbors of V2, V4 has been known, which is being depicted with the help of a star in the circle of V4, but V5 was unknown yet. So should I update the current estimate of V5? No, because it is 12 via V2. So let's move on. So this is what we have after V2 is declared. No. So look at the variable known, look at DV, look at PV, right? And now this is the corresponding graph. So V1 is known, V4 is known, V2 is known. So this attribute is being depicted with the help of the star within the circle of these three nodes, right? So those nodes that are still unknown, V3 has an estimate of 3. The current estimate of V5 is also 3. The current estimate of the shortest path weight is 9 for V6. For V7, the current estimate is 5. So among the unknown, we can see that among the unknown, we see that V3's current estimate and V5's current estimate is the current estimate are the same, right? Now, since they are the same, what should we do? We can have a random selection. We can randomly select one of them, right? There is no specific decision that we can make here. We can randomly select either one of them, either V3 or V5, right? It won't have any impact on our shortest path weight values, right? Although the routes can be different, right? But the shortest path weight values are always unique. So the author selects the next vertex to be V5, whose cost is 3. Now, to V5, we can see from our adjacency list that there is only one neighbor for V5, and that is V7. Should we adjust it? If I want to adjust it, the current shortest path weight from V1 to V5 is 3. So 3 plus the edge cost from V5 to V7 is 6. So 3 plus 6 is 11. What is our current estimate about the shortest path distance from V1 to V7? It is 5. So should I update it? No. Why? Because 9, 3 plus 6, which is 9, 9 is greater than 5. That means I should not go to V7 via V5. Next is, so there won't be any change. Now V5 is also known. So what we do is, I will select V3 because among all the unknown vertices, V3's current estimate is the minimum. So V3 gets selected. Now, who are the neighboring nodes of V3? We can see the neighbors are V1 and V6. V1 is known, so I won't adjust its weights. V6 is unknown, so I will try to adjust its weights. And what will be the weight? From V3 to V6, the edge cost is 5, and the shortest path estimate from V1 to V3 is 3. So 3 plus 5 is 9. Is 9 much better? Sorry, 3 plus 5 is 8. So is 8 better than 9? 9 is the current estimate of the shortest path from V1 to V6. Is 9 better than 8? No, obviously. So we should update. We should adjust the shortest path weight estimate of V6. So this is what we have after we have declared V5 and V3 known. So V1 is known, V2 is known, V3, V4, V5, and now we are still left with V6 and V7. So look at V6, the dV of V6 is now updated to 8 and its predecessor is also updated to V3. So the current estimate says that, the current table says that if you want to go from V1 to V6, go via V3. And who is the predecessor of V3? If you refer to the table, the predecessor is V4. And who is the predecessor of V4? V1. So that means this is how I can construct the path. So to go to V6 from V1, I should go to V4 first, then V3, and then V6. This is according to the current estimates. So now, out of the two unknown nodes or vertices, V6 and V7, we can see that the shorter the shortest path weight for V7 is the minimum among the two values, among the two vertices, V6 and V7. So according to our greedy decision or greedy approach, we will select V7, right? So V7 gets selected. So this is the graph, the corresponding graph. Our V5 and V3 have been declared known, right? Right? This is the graph. These are the two graphs after V5 and V3 have been selected. Next, V7 is selected. Now, when V7 is selected, what we can do is we can explore V7's adjacency list and we find that the only node on the adjacency list of V7 is V6 and it's also unknown. So if I go to V6 via V7, what is the edge cost? It is 1. The current shortest path estimate of V7 from V1 is 5. So 5 plus 1 is 6. Is 6 better than 8? Where 8 is the current estimate of the shortest path weight that I know from V1 to V6. Obviously, 6 is better than 8. So I should adjust the shortest path weight of V6. So you can see this is what we have done. After V7 is declared, this is the corresponding graph, right? So you can see the star, each star, the star is basically representing that the number has been discovered, right? The number, the vertex has been uh, the adjacency list of the vertex has been scanned, right? So now we are left with V6, right? So finally V6 gets selected, and after V6 gets selected, there are no nodes on the adjacency list or the linked list of V6, as V6 has no node adjacent to it, right? So there's no node adjacent to V6, that's why there's no change. And now at this point, when the algorithm should terminate, because we have explored the linked list or the adjacency list of all the vertices present in our graph. At this point it terminates. So this is the final values. And here we are, right? So this is our diagram, the final diagram. Now, if I want to go from V1 to V6, right? Let's say V1 is UET and V6 is, let's say, Southern. So if I want to construct the path from these two node points, right, from the source to the destination, I will refer to the predecessor of V6, which is V7. So that means I should go to row number V7 and look for its predecessor. Who's the predecessor of V7? V4 is the predecessor of V7, and then I will refer to V4's row and find the predecessor of V4. We find that V1 is the predecessor of V4. So that means if I want to go from V1 to V6, I should follow this path: V1 to V4, V4 to V7, and V7 to V6. And the shortest path weight will be 6, right? The cost or this weight can represent anything, right? We can represent the time, we can represent the distance, or anything else, right? It depends upon the application. This is what we learned in our first lecture of graph algorithms. So this is how we can print out the actual path from a source node, some vertex v, right? We can obviously write a recursive routine to follow this. So you will, in the book, you will find there's a routine, a recursive routine that has been given by the author of our book, right? So now let's look at the pseudocode to implement the Dijkstra's algorithm. So what we will do is we will assume that the vertices are numbered from 0 to num underscore vertex for convenience. So they are numbered randomly, right? Let's move on. So the three attributes of each node can be implemented with a structure. Let's call it structure table underscore entry, type def integer vertex. Each vertex will be represented with an integer value, right? Right. So then the attributes of each vertex is being implemented through this structure. So list header. This is the adjacency list header of the vertex, right? Then the known variable is also integer because we don't have Boolean type in C language. So known is either true or false, 1 or 0. So 1 can represent true and 0 will represent false. Then the distance. The distance is the shortest path distance, the current estimate, and then the path. That is the predecessor of a certain vertex. Let's move on. This is the initialization phase of the Dijkstra's algorithm. So for each vertex v, the distance was initialized to infinity, and the known variable of v was initialized to false. So these two lines will be carried out for each vertex present in the graph. Once we have done that, then what we will do is the distance of our source node with respect to the source node is 0, right? Look at the left curly bracket just below the void word, the void term. So that means this continues. So this is just the for loop of our Dijkstra's algorithm. So the algorithm continues on this slide as well. So there's a while loop. While there is an unknown distance vertex, right? So the while loop will keep on working until we have unknown vertices. As soon as all the vertices will become known, the while loop will terminate and we will come out of our Dijkstra's algorithm. Then in the while loop we see vertex v is equal to smallest unknown distance vertex. So this is our greedy decision that we were making. We were figuring out that node whose current estimate is the smallest, whose current distance value is the smallest among all the unknown vertices. So we were looking at we were referring to the table, and among all the unknown vertices, the one whose distance was the smallest, we selected that vertex v. So then you turn its known variable to true, because now we are about to scan the adjacency list of V. So the next for loop is basically scanning or traversing the linked list of V. Right? So for each vertex W adjacent to V, if W is not known, so that means we will carry out the following instructions for all those neighbors of V which are currently not known. Right? Those who are known, we won't do anything on them. No work will be done on them. Right? Right? So then we will look at the cost of the edge from V to W. What is the cost of the edge? The edge cost plus the current estimate of the shortest path distance of V plus the edge cost, is it smaller than the current estimate of the shortest path distance from S to W? If the current estimate of the shortest path distance from S to W is greater, update it. So we will update it and V will become the predecessor of W. So this is how we were working on our table. This is the pseudocode of Dijkstra's algorithm, right? You can see this is just the pseudocode. We can implement the very first instruction after the while loop with a priority queue, right? If you recall a priority queue, in a priority queue, we will have a tree, a binary heap, right? And the root node will be the node whose key will be the minimum. So on this step, we can execute a delete minimum operation to find out the unknown vertex whose distance value is the smallest. So with the help of delete minimum operation of a priority queue, we can implement the very first instruction of the while loop. We can also use other data structures, and this will have a significant impact on the running time of Dijkstra's algorithm. So let's move on. If any edge has a negative cost, the algorithm could produce the wrong answer. So keep that in mind. Dijkstra's algorithm requires that all the edge costs are positive, right? It should not be negative. It should be non-negative, right? The running time depends on how the vertices are manipulated, which we have to get to consider, right? And this depends upon the implementation. So one obvious choice is that we sequentially scan the vertices to find minimum DV. So you see, I will start with V2. Does V2 have the minimum value? Does V3 have the minimum value? Uh, is the dV of V4 the smallest? Is the dV of V5 is the smallest, and so on. So we can sequentially scan the vertices. This, if you adopt this strategy, this is big O square magnitude of V, right? The time for updating DW is constant per update, and there is at most one update per edge for a total of big O V big O magnitude of V. So the running time, total running time based on this approach is big O, the magnitude of V, plus the square of the magnitude of V. And obviously this will be upper bounded by square of magnitude of V. So this turns out to be a very expensive choice because it is square of it, right? It is growing quadratically in terms of p. So we will conclude our today's lecture here, and inshallah we will start with the last article of this chapter, that is 9.5, that we will study, whose title is Minimum Spanning Tree, next time inshallah. So please everyone go through this Dijkstra's algorithm, and if you have any question we can inshallah discuss it in our Q&A session. Thank you everyone. Allah Hafiz.